I think I do have my answer. We're just not agreeing on it, and we know why. So let me go to my second. Let me. It's my time. Let me go to my second question. The clock is running. It's my time. It is my time. You will not do this on my time.
When a member of Congress won't settle for half answers, the hearing room changes. In this dramatic exchange, Rep. Miss Batty demanded direct accountability from Treasury Secretary Bessant, first on financial loopholes that could benefit criminals, then on the stalled Harriet Tubman $20 bill. What followed was a moment of raw defiance, Batty refusing to be silenced, insisting that her questions deserved real answers. Let's break it all down.
Subcommittee, Ms. Batty is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, and to you, Secretary Bessant. The Trump administration has alleged that detecting and deterring transnational criminal organizations such as Iranian terrorist groups and their proxies is a priority for national security. But on March 2nd of 2025, your department announced that it would not enforce any penalties or fines associated with the BOI reporting rule, nor will it enforce the CTA against U.S. citizens, domestic reporting companies, or their beneficial owners. So I'm a little confused of how you square those two things. So my question is, can you explain to, or would you explain to the American public how you undermine the bipartisan CTA and expect law enforcement and national security agencies to quickly and effectively know the true owners behind shell companies registered in the United States now that foreigners, including a drug cartel, gang members, could register a company in the United States with no state or any federal ownership reporting requirements? And I remind you, in your testimony, you talked about illicit actors. Well, these are some of our illicit actors.
The Congresswoman, an overwhelming majority of the domestic entities that you're describing are hardworking Americans with small businesses. We bifurcated the bill, and any foreign entities must still file.
So are you saying to me it's not true that they must file and the foreign entities must file the BOI?
Yes, we bifurcated the CTA program that domestics do not have to.
So maybe I'm asking it the wrong way. So it appears that they are doing it registering to avoid the transparency of who the companies are.
I'm not sure what your question is. I'd be happy to answer it.
So I guess I'm looking at it as, and if you're saying it is not true and that they now are complying and completing the BOI. So let's take it one step at a time. So you're saying everybody is completing the BOI. You're enforcing it.
No, ma'am. I am saying that we have bifurcated it, that U.S. nationals do not have to file, and that foreign nationals do. Okay, so I guess when we look at this, if we're limiting enforcements of the rule just to the foreign entities, that creates a giant loophole whereby any foreign entity can register in the United States and evade or not do the BOI reporting requirements. Well, they would be subject to they would have to come through a U.S. financial institution, so they would be subject to all U.S. institutions.
Including the BOI. Including the BOI. Including the BOI, yes or no? Because the answer is no. I mean, you can say it however you want to, but the answer is no. And this makes it easier, and this is what I want the American folks to know. It makes it easier for human and drug traffickers, cartels, terrorists, organizations, and other criminals to do business in the United States. And when you're limiting the enforcement just to foreign entities, it exempts 99% of the entities that Congress intended the law to cover when it was passed into law. So I think I do have my answer. We're just not agreeing on it, and we know why. So let me go to my second. It's my time. Let me go to my second question. The clock is running. It's my time. It is my time. You will not do this on my time. Now, I'm going to ask for a few more seconds since he refused to comply with my time, not his time. In 2016, former Secretary Jack Lew announced that Harriet Tubman was to be the new face of the $20 bill. Can you tell me what's the current status of this project?
No, ma'am, I can't, but my staff will get back to you.
No, I want you to get back to me. Because, see, there seems to be an issue when it comes to things that affect people of color or people who live in poverty, whether it is what you're doing with Social Security, what you are doing with restricting funds.
The gentlewoman's time is
I
expired.
want you,
The gentlewoman's
will
time
you
is
respond
expired.
to me?
The gentleman
Mr.
from
Chairman,
Texas,
I need
the
him to
gentlewoman's
answer
time.
if he will. I'm not a
The
staff
gentlewoman can
person.
submit
I'm not
questions for
asking
the
him to
record.
have his staff report to
The
me.
gentlewoman
So,
can
Mr.
submit-
Chairman, I'm addressing it to you to ask
gentlewoman's
him
time has
to respect
expired.
me. Mr. Chairman,
The gentlewoman's
I'm talking
time
to
has
you.
expired.
I need him to address if he
gentlewoman's
will
time
answer
has
me.
expired.
No, I'm not going to.
The gentlewoman's time
I'm
has
not going
expired.
to stop until you
The
direct
gentlewoman's
him
time
to
has
answer to
expired.
me as a member of Congress.
The gentlewoman's
Mr.
time has
Chairman, point
expired.
of
The
order
gentlewoman
to
has
you.
offered that she can submit questions for the
Point
record.
of order to you. I will not stop. I will not be silent.
The gentlewoman is
until
not
you
offering
direct
an
him
appropriate
to answer.
parliamentary inquiry. Does
Will
the gentlewoman
you-
have a parliamentary
Yes,
inquiry?
I do.
Please state the parliamentary inquiry.
As a member of the United States Congress addressing the Secretary, I am asking you to rule on asking this hostile witness to direct his response to me versus having him tell me that his staff will respond to me. My staff person didn't ask him the question. I did.
The gentlewoman does not state a parliamentary inquiry.
So let me ask the
Gentlewoman's
point of
time-
privilege to you, Mr. Chairman, because I'm not going to stop this morning until you respond to me then, if you will direct the Secretary to respond to me as a member of Congress. Or let me ask him.
It is not a
Then
point of
let me
privilege. The
ask
gentlewoman's
him
time
if he will
has
respond
expired.
to
The
me.
gentlewoman will
Will he
suspend.
respond to me?
The gentlewoman will.
Will he respond
The gentleman will
that
suspend.
he-
The gentlewoman
It can
will
be simple
suspend.
if he responds.
The gentlewoman will suspend.
If he responds
The gentlewoman
to me,
will
if
suspend.
he will
The
respond to me,
gentlewoman makes a legitimate request, a personal
you
privilege.
can simply ask him to
Grant
respond.
personal privilege.
Just
Personal
ask him to
privilege.
respond if he'll respond to a member of Congress versus saying a staffer. It's simple as that.
I ask that members keep decorum and remain cordial during today's hearing.
I am being
Members,
cordial to
the
you,
gentlewoman will
Mr.
suspend.
Chairman.
The chair has the time.
Mr. Chairman,
the
will you
chair has the
answer the
time. The
question?
gentlewoman will suspend.
The gentlewoman
The
makes a
gentlewoman will
legitimate
suspend.
request.
I ask that members keep decorum and remain cordial during today's
I am being
hearing.
cordial. I resent your statement to imply that I am not. I am a member of the U.S. Congress. I am asking this
The
secretary
gentlewoman
to
may
respond
submit
to me.
QFRs for the record, which will be responded to by the secretary.
Thank you.
The gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentleman from Texas, the chairman of the Small Business Committee, Mr. Williams, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. This may be a little easier on you here. I'll try to move it fast forward. The Chinese Communist Party has enabled their economy to serve as
The House subcommittee hearing that unfolded this week was supposed to be a technical discussion of enforcement priorities at the Treasury Department. Instead, it became a striking example of congressional oversight at its most unfiltered, with Rep. Miss Batty standing her ground against Treasury Secretary Bessant in a confrontation that blended policy urgency, symbolic justice, and raw democratic defiance. Batty began by homing in on the administration's decision not to enforce penalties against U.S. citizens or domestic companies that fail to comply with the Corporate Transparency Act's beneficial ownership information requirements. The CTA, passed on a bipartisan basis, was meant to close dangerous loopholes that allow shell companies to hide true owners, the very tactic used by cartels, money launderers, traffickers, and even foreign terror-linked groups. Without enforcement, Batty argued, the law's intent collapses, leaving U.S. soil wide open for illicit financial activity. Her questions were sharp and direct. How can Treasury claim to prioritize fighting transnational crime while at the same time weakening the single most important tool Congress provided to identify who is behind these companies? Secretary Bessant responded by emphasizing a bifurcated approach. Foreign companies would still be required to file, while domestic companies would not. But Batty quickly dismantled that argument. Any foreign actor seeking to evade scrutiny, she explained, could simply establish a domestic shell company and exploit the exception. Far from protecting U.S. interests, the bifurcation created an incentive for bad actors to embed themselves more deeply in the American corporate system. At this point, the exchange sharpened. Batty pressed for a simple yes or no answer. Was Treasury enforcing beneficial ownership disclosure for domestic entities? The Secretary's attempts to frame his response in technical terms prompted Batty to cut through the jargon. You can call it what you want, but the answer is no, she said flatly. That single sentence laid bare what many watching may have already suspected. Treasury's position had created a massive enforcement gap, one that undercuts both national security and financial integrity. But Rep. Batty wasn't finished. With her time running short, she pivoted to another issue that has simmered for nearly a decade, the status of the Harriet Tubman $20 bill. First announced in 2016, the redesign was meant to honor Tubman's heroism and sacrifice by placing her image on the $20 bill, replacing Andrew Jackson. Yet nearly 10 years later, the bill has yet to appear. For Batty, this wasn't a minor detail. It was a glaring example of promises unfulfilled, particularly when those promises center on the recognition of African American contributions to American history. When she asked Secretary Bessant directly about the current status of the Tubman note, he attempted to deflect, offering only that his staff would provide a follow-up. That, for Batty, was unacceptable. No, I want you to get back to me, she insisted. Her reasoning was clear. She was the one who asked the question, not her staff. Deflecting to staff responses, in her view, diminished her role as an elected representative and ignored the urgency of the question itself. From that moment, the tone of the hearing shifted dramatically. Batty asserted her rights as a member of Congress, invoking parliamentary tools to force accountability. The chairman repeatedly insisted her time had expired, but she pressed on. I will not stop. I will not be silent, she declared, words that cut through the procedural noise and crystallized the tension in the room. This was no longer simply a policy dispute. It had become a battle over accountability itself. Would a cabinet-level official be required to answer directly to a member of Congress, or would bureaucratic deflection prevail? Batty's insistence highlighted the principle at the core of oversight. Elected lawmakers are the direct representatives of the people, and executive officials serve under their scrutiny. Her refusal to yield also carried broader symbolic weight. The Harriet Tubman $20 bill is more than just currency. It is a statement of recognition, a symbol of inclusion, and a corrective to a history that too often erases the contributions of Black Americans. By demanding a direct answer, Batty was not only defending congressional prerogatives, but also standing up for communities who have waited too long for promises of equity to be fulfilled. The chairman's repeated calls for decorum added yet another layer to the clash. By suggesting that Batty was failing to maintain order, the chair framed her persistence as disorderly. Batty pushed back, insisting she was being respectful but firm, and that firmness should not be mistaken for incivility. In her words and her posture, she underscored a critical truth. Democratic accountability is not always quiet or polite. Sometimes it requires confrontation. The significance of this moment cannot be overstated. On the financial side, the loopholes in BOI enforcement threaten to undermine U.S. law enforcement's ability to track illicit money. On the symbolic side, the continued delay of the Tubman note represents a failure to live up to public commitments to equity. And on the procedural side, Batty's stand represented a demand that Congress not be diminished in its role of questioning and challenging executive officials. For Democrats and progressives, the moment was a reminder of the importance of persistence. Too often, important questions get lost in the bureaucratic shuffle. By refusing to let her question be brushed aside, Batty forced attention onto issues that matter, from the safety of American communities threatened by cartel activity to the moral imperative of honoring Harriet Tubman. The clash will likely be remembered for Batty's defiant words, "I will not be silent." Those words resonate not just as a personal declaration, but as a democratic principle. In a system where accountability is often evaded through procedure, persistence becomes the only path to truth. In sum, this hearing revealed 3 layers of conflict: policy, the fight over how to enforce corporate transparency and close loopholes that criminals exploit; symbolism, the long-delayed Harriet Tubman $20 bill, a broken promise of recognition and equity; process, the struggle over whether members of Congress can demand real-time accountability from executive officials. Rep. Batty's refusal to yield ensured that all 3 were forced into the open. It was messy, loud, and uncomfortable, but it was also democracy in action.